no audio volume out of your computer. So mute it. All right. All right, welcome to Middle Tech's Friday update. We've got a special Friday update for you guys this morning. If you've been following our socials this week, you have seen that we are doing a big giveaway for Forecastle Festival. So lots of awesome artists coming to that festival, one of them being Jack Harlow, who just released his album last night. So that is very exciting stuff. We're going to have TJ on here, who runs our social, to come on, do a little random giveaway and see who wins these tickets. So thank you guys for joining. Once we get everyone in here, we're going to get all the Middle Tech co-founders and co-hosts, and then we'll get started. Morning,
What's
Nate.
up, Logan? Morning.
How you doing on this Friday morning?
I'm good. How much of the Jack Harlow album have you listened to?
I think I might have listened to the whole thing once through already. I started listening as soon
Oh.
as I woke up this morning, so it's,
Dedicated fan.
yeah, I think my top ones right now are, let's see, Young Harleasy. I've been vibing to that one this morning. That one's so good.
I haven't heard that one yet.
Yo.
Yo.
All right, we got the whole team on here. So before we get started and dive in and do this giveaway, let's first start with going over our sponsors for the Friday update real quick. Then we'll take a couple seconds to just talk about what Middle Tech is, and then TJ is going to do this randomized giveaway and see who wins these tickets.
Let's get it.
Yeah. So let's jump in with some sponsors. Middle Tech is a podcast. We're lucky enough to have some sponsors, and every Friday we do these Friday updates. And we have a couple sponsors for our Friday update today. First is KY Innovation. It's a program of the Commonwealth of Kentucky to support entrepreneurs and innovators within the state. They are our presenting sponsor for the entire season, the whole year. So thank you to KY Innovation. Check them out. They have a lot of great programs to help promote entrepreneurship in Kentucky. And our second sponsor for this morning is Render Capital. They're a venture capital firm based in Louisville, and they're running Render Competition right now. It's an annual competition where 8 startups can enter the competition, or startups enter 8 win a $100,000 check to help with their early stage startup. Bringing a lot of innovation to the Louisville area. You can check out that competition at render.capital/competition.
Awesome. Well, let's take just 15 seconds to go over what Middle Tech actually is, what all you guys have actually been engaging with and following when you entered this giveaway. So Middle Tech, like Nate said, started as a podcast about 4 years ago just to cover startups and entrepreneurs in this region, building awesome companies. So we believe that Lexington specifically has an awesome startup ecosystem, and then we expanded out to Louisville, Nashville, Indianapolis, Cincinnati, and really this entire region now. And then Middle Tech from there kind of transitioned into a full media company. So now not only do we have the Middle Tech podcast that's released every Monday, we also have a podcast called Develop Lex. So if you're into real estate and you want to be into real estate specifically in Lexington and know exactly what's going on in your backyard and learn from those who have done it in your backyard, check out Develop Lex. So anything I'm missing there, fellas?
You covered it like you usually do, brother.
Sweet. All right. Well, before we get into this giveaway, just so you guys have some sort of expectation of what these Friday updates entail, we just cover some of the biggest tech news and news in general, really, that's going on either nationally, internationally, or in this region specifically. So today we're going to be talking about some telehealth news. Cerebral, which is a telehealth company, getting cut off from prescribing Adderall. China is banning foreign tech, and then App Harvest earnings. So stick around after this giveaway if you want to hear us talk a little bit about those news stories. So now, the moment everyone's been waiting for. TJ, you want to take over from here?
Yeah, buddy. Yes, I just wanted to say thanks again for everybody that participated in the giveaway. The response was amazing. It was way more DMs than we could handle, but it was awesome to interact with you in the DMs. Forecast is going to be awesome, and we're super excited to kind of be a part of it in this way. So, without further ado, I got a name generator here, big old wheel. Had over 1,300 respondents. So here we go. The winner of the giveaway is.
Love the drum roll.
That's a lot of names on the wheel.
Yeah. Come on. Carter Moss 11.
Let's go,
Nice.
Carter.
Congrats, Carter.
Woo!
We'll send you a DM and get you those tickets.
Yeah, so after this IG Live, I'll send you a DM. We'll get everything set up. We'll get your address and get you those tickets so you can have a good time at Fort Castle. Thanks again for everybody who followed along. You know, if you don't keep following after this, that's okay. But if you do, our content aims to serve entrepreneurs in the region, like Logan said. We talk about tech, all the cool latest things happening with popular trends and local trends. But again, just super excited that you guys join us on this journey, and let's keep it rolling.
Absolutely. Well, good stuff. Thank you guys again for participating, like TJ said. Now let's dive into some of these stories that we want to cover. So the first one, like I mentioned, is this telehealth startup called Cerebral. And just to give you some background on this story, I've been seeing a lot of criticism of these telehealth companies that are basically able to prescribe medications such as Adderall. So if you went to university and you had friends that took Adderall, I'm sure everyone knows about how Adderall is abused. And with these telehealth companies allowing it to be prescribed, basically, without having to actually see a doctor in person, it's kind of fueling that fire. So wanted to go over this story real quick and just kind of give some details on this. Nate, why don't you start by kind of giving us some of your thoughts around this whole situation and, just telehealth in general.
Yeah, so I think it's important just to kind of set the context here. Cerebral was a telehealth company where you could call in and speak with doctors online, and doctors could issue prescriptions. And they worked with at least one, maybe a couple online pharmacies who were separate entities that were taking the doctor's subscriptions, filling them, and then mailing them out. So if you're the patient, the consumer, you just get on a Zoom call, and then like Adderall could be mailed to you.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of talk that the doctors were kind of pushed to overprescribe or had prescribing quotas or something like that. And obviously we don't have insight into that, but just from the consumer perspective, I have seen Instagram ads and more recently TikTok ads where it's literally just like, this was me last week before I had my Adderall subscription or my ADHD medication prescription. This is me this week with my ADHD medication prescription, and it's them getting a bunch of stuff done, like a fun TikTok format. And just like the first one I saw, like I had to look into it because I couldn't believe that was an ad, and they just kept coming up. So like any tech startup, they had a large marketing budget, but when you're marketing Adderall subscriptions to young people on TikTok, like that just immediately
That's a red
feels
flag.
like an ethical issue.
Yeah, one of the criticisms I saw is like, let us addict you to social media and give you attention deficit disorder, and then here you go. We can send you Adderall straight to your door. Evan, why don't you give us some of your thoughts on telehealth in general? I know you study the space pretty closely and have been for a while. So how does this affect the space overall?
I mean, I think it's becoming more commoditized. I think a lot of startups popped up over the last several years, and especially during COVID, to support people with telehealth, and now it's kind of become an ongoing thing. I think the majority of people would rather see a doctor in person for a lot of things, and a lot of people would rather see a telehealth doctor for things like mental health and just therapy in general, general check-ins. That's where telehealth really thrives, and so you started to see a lot of major funding from players like SoftBank and some of the other big VCs around the world that pumped money into this trend and wanted to grow it. But like I said, now it's becoming more of a commodity. It's something very popular that really any doctor's office can spin up. It's not very hard to spin up and do. You just need to have the right licenses and the right technology. And so it's really growing. It's becoming a commodity. And so a lot of these companies are overvalued and trying to figure out ways to stand out, and maybe giving out certain types of prescriptions is a way to do that. And this is probably one of those cases where, if you want Adderall or something related to ADHD, this is where you would go.
Yep. I think I saw they were valued at like north of $4 billion with, I forget how many users it was exactly.
Yeah,
I don't want to misquote it. But I mean, just a massive valuation for a company that's seems like a lot of their focus is on serving that particular demographic within social
Yeah, about
media.
6 months ago, they closed $300 million of funding by SoftBank at a
Insane.
$4.8 billion valuation.
Yeah, that's insane.
Damn.
That's insane. All right, let's move on to this story coming. This is an international story, rather, from China. So China has ordered all government entities
China.
and state firms to dump any foreign tech, mostly personal computers. So Evan, you're the one that sent this story in. Give us some initial thoughts on what's going on over in China with American-made tech and them not wanting to use it anymore.
Yeah, I mean, listen, China's a communist country. Every country in the world, especially us and China, are trying to protect our information. That was what all the fuss around TikTok was. I think people don't understand that we're in information warfare with Russia and China. Russia has influenced our elections in some ways, so has China. We're trying to figure out ways to influence and infiltrate China and Russia with our technology and our hackers. So this is the new warfare, and China's just saying, hey, we don't want any U.S. made or foreign made computers in our government because chips could be planted in them that are listening to us, information can be stolen from us. So, if I'm a communist country like China that's had a track record of things like this, not surprising at all. I think really all it does is put more focus on what our response be, as a country related to our security. I don't remember, I remember vividly, but I don't know if everybody else remembers, but last year, again, back to this fuss of TikTok, the fuss with TikTok is we're literally just giving all of our domestic data to China. TikTok collecting more data than Google is. And we were just handing it over to China's government. And that's where Trump and the administration at that time wanted to step in and stop that. We haven't heard much about it since then, but this is just a continuation of that back and forth between us and China related to our information. So it's a big deal. China's got plenty of other ways to supply their government with PCs. The two companies in the United States that will be harmed the most are HP and Dell. They're the ones that are still making the most PCs as far as Windows goes and in general. So crazy story, but not surprising, at least to me.
Yeah, and since that whole thing with TikTok has gone down, TikTok has become like the most visited platform/site in the world, like over Google.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
By a
beat
lot.
Google. Yeah.
yeah, that's from that perspective of knowing where the data is actually flowing to, not good, not good. Nate, what are your thoughts
Yeah.
on this?
I think I totally agree with all of that related to TikTok, but I think an interesting dichotomy here is, this is a ban on hardware, not software.
Yep.
And I mean, I think it's more easily understandable to how like a software could, pull interaction data together to build a psychograph, whereas this is, are they thinking we're bugging hardware in some way to pull that same data? And that reminds me, I forgot the name of the company, but a year or two ago, the U.S. I don't know if it's the FBI or Department of Justice
Huawei.
was. Yeah, well, that as well. But didn't we think that there was like a Chinese server company that was bugging the servers?
Well, it was the microchip company. I forget
Yes,
which one
okay.
it was too, but it was microchips that were going into all kinds of technology over here.
Yeah, so another hardware issue. So it's if they are worried that we're doing it, maybe we are, but that definitely means they're doing it as well. And all of our technology is put together in China.
Well, I was about to say that it's like most of the products that we use here in the U.S. is made in China, and I'm
Yeah.
wondering if we were to do the same thing, would we be able to, duplicate or create the amount of products that are already created outside of
No.
the U.S.? So it's like,
No.
and it kind of a power struggle there in my mind. Obviously, the U.S. is more powerful than China at this moment, both military-wise and just as a country overall. But just the fact that we rely on them more and have relied on them more over the course of the, I don't know, years, it's just a scary thing, and what's next? Now it's tech hardware. They've already banned. There's no Facebook, no Instagram in China, and so they're just becoming more of a closed country that. Frankly, we just don't have much intel on. I mean, the U.S. government does, but we as just American people are really going to be left out of kind of what's happening in China, which, it's just a scary thing. It's a scary thing to think about, and it'll be interesting to see how things develop over the next few years.
The flip side to that argument, though, is like you said, they're becoming a closed country. You're right, even more so than they already are. Would we
Right.
want to become a closed country? Probably not. So like, how do you
Yeah.
balance
I think the way I would look at it is we just need to make sure our supply chain is in a state that can take care of us first, and we don't need to be shipping supply chain to other countries. Like we need to take care of ourselves first, related to supply chain issues, and then worry about everybody else. I think it's still the U.S.
Yeah.
government and the United States like prerogative to make sure that we're helping globalization and helping other countries thrive.
Yep.
But like we're seeing these problems with our supply chain today. We can't make enough cars. We can't make enough computers. We've got all kinds of problems related to food. You know, we can't just continue to outsource our supply chain to other countries that if they wanted to do malice to us, they would just continue to destroy our supply chain. And so I think that one thing we just need to do as a country is put more focus on domesticating as much of our supply chain and manufacturing as possible so we can take care of ourselves first, which is the most important thing. Because if we don't take care of ourselves first, then we can't take care of the rest of the world, which has been our role for the last, few hundred years.
Yeah, I mean, that goes
And
back to like the whole global economy and how interconnected everything is. And you see all of this stuff happening with the just global logistics with shipping companies and how that's been such a terrible mess all through COVID, and we're still dealing with it. So I don't think it's something that I think it's something we're going to be dealing with for the next couple of years for sure. TJ, did you have one more thing you wanted to add, it, or should we move on to this
Yeah.
Harvest earnings?
Just my final thought there is that a lot of responsibility is going to be on these companies to make a stand and just the first one kind of mind, Nike. Obviously there's all kinds of warehouses in China that produces the shoes. It's going to be their responsibility to bring those jobs back in America, and hopefully there's going to be leaders in that in that space that can help push us to have a better supply chain overall.
Yeah. Yep. Lots of implications that come with that for sure. Let's move on to this next story around some local news with App Harvest. So App Harvest is a massive company being built here in Lexington, Kentucky. They've got greenhouses all over the state. Evan, I'm going to let you kind of kick this one off. You do a great job of going through their earnings report and breaking down some of the financials within that. So let's get an update on the state of App Harvest financially.
Yep. All right. So these are Q1 earnings. So about several months ago, I went through App Harvest Q4 earnings and full year and forward-looking 2022. So I did a complete breakdown of App Harvest and kind of where they're heading into the future. It was rather critical given their financial situation is not good. But here's their Q1 earnings 2022. So they had net sales of 5.2 million. They are reiterating a net sales outlook of 24 to 32 million dollars. 125% increase in their net sales from Q1 of last year to Q1 of this year. The big trends that I noticed within this report was that their price per pound of produce went up pretty substantially. So it went up about 14 cents per pound, which at scale can be a lot of money. So that's good to see that they're making operational efficiencies and selling their produce for a higher cost. Part of that is probably due to the quality of their tomatoes increasing. I read that in there, that they're starting to grow premier tomatoes that demand higher price. So one of the other things to pay attention to within this report that they made sure to tell the public about is their progress on their farms that they continue to build. So they're building a 15-acre farm in Berea that is 79% complete. The 60-acre Richmond farm that's kind of mirroring the Moorhead farm is about 75% complete. And then the 30-acre Somerset facility is about 65% complete. So each one of those facilities are going to grow something a little bit different, from leafy greens to berries to tomatoes. So they're trying to diversify what kind of crops they're growing. That's an important trend. So that was something that was good to report. They say that by the end of 2022, they'll be done with that construction completely, and they'll start ramping those farms up, and you should see that reflected in their revenue. Now, the last thing I wanted to point out was you always got to pay attention when you're looking at a company and evaluating it. What's the balance with its cash? So they lost, as I said, $30 million this past Actually, I don't think I said that. So they reported about $31 million of loss this past Q1. In the bank, they've only got $97.6 million. So, if you're losing $30 million a quarter and you only got
Yeah.
$98 million in the bank, you're in a bad spot. So what
the
they've
end of the
got
year.
going on is they've got some credit facilities, which means they're going to raise debt in order to help fund the remaining construction and overhead. And then they've got $100 million of equity fundraising that they're probably going to need to tap into. The problem with that is that means that dilutes shareholders. So if you're a shareholder at AppHarvest and you see them burning all of this cash, the only way that they can continue to fund the business is if they raise more money. Oftentimes it's dilutive, which means that everybody in the company that exists and owns stock is going to own less stock. So really they're just increasing the amount of shares in the market, diluting everybody in order to raise cash. Not something you want to see from a company that literally just went public about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. So they're making some improvements. It doesn't look like it's going to make much of a difference. They're money soon, and they're going to have to raise more. But wish them the best. Hopefully they can continue to improve and get those farms online and get some better unit economics.
Yep, for sure. We won't say too much else about that just because the numbers kind of tell the story, but it is good to see them making improvements in some areas. So we're definitely rooting for them. We don't want to make it seem like we want them to fail. We're just being real about their financial position as it stands currently. Cool. So those are some good stories to go over. Thank you guys for staying with us through those. Before we let you go, we have a couple episodes coming out here over the next couple days. So Nate, you want to tell us about the weekend thoughts that we have coming out tomorrow?
Yeah, Weekend Thoughts tomorrow. It's actually by TJ right there, bobbing
Yeah,
his
buddy.
head. Timely subject, talking about the process of building and running the social media here for Middle Tech.
Nice.
So I think that'll be really interesting for everybody.
Sweet.
Yeah, super
And
pumped
then
about that.
on Monday, we have an episode coming out with a Nashville entrepreneur, Debbie Gordon, who has started a cybersecurity company called Cloud Range. So that's an awesome interview with a serial entrepreneur who gives a lot of wisdom about leadership and the importance of cybersecurity. It's something we should all be thinking about, especially in relation to that story we just talked about with China. So other than that, I think that's all we got for you guys. Hope everyone has a great Friday. Nate, go ahead.
I
You got
think it's
something?
important to say real quick, you can find our podcast anywhere you listen to podcasts, Spotify,
Yes.
Apple, just search Middle Tech. For our other show, search Develop Lex for real estate.
Yep. Thanks for giving that plug in
good.
there. Hope everyone has a great Friday. Enjoy the Jack Harlow album. Enjoy the Derby this weekend. Hope you guys win some money. Other than that, we'll see you guys next week. See y'all.
See y'all.
Peace out, peeps.